Let's get started. So the first thing we want to share is that if you are trying to receive any credits, you need to download this app now. At the very end, we will pop out a, sorry, too many things are jumping up on my screen at one time. We will put up the QR code that you can scan to get the CEUs. If for some reason there is any problem with downloading this app for NCBOLD or getting the QR code, we will also follow up with you, and also the main organizers are available throughout the span of this program to support you to make sure you get those credits as well. So if we are good with this part, we'll just keep going. All right.
So, Ms. Berry, did you introduce yourself?
I don't know if I did. Well, I'm sorry if I didn't, but I know we put our card. My name is Barbara Berry. I work at Giddens Middle School and in education for 20 years in various roles as a classroom teacher for a large chunk of it, and more recently as a media coordinator. I also work in support with one of our outreach branches within Durham Public Schools, which is Family Academy, which is connecting parents and families together to their schools and to support and academic resources to make everybody a partner in the child's education.
Hello, my name is Greg Jones. I am the Family Engagement Coordinator for Durham Public Schools. Also work closely with Family Academy, which provides support for our families in the district, along with my partner who's not here, Althea Scriven. So we are certainly thankful for this opportunity to present to you all, creating and sustaining effective digital communication with families. So today, the session goal is to gather and analyze current practices of digital communication in your school and district. And hopefully once we're done with our presentation, participants will design a plan for more effective means of communication with an emphasis on access and usability. While we won't be creating the plan during the presentation, hopefully we can provide you all with some tools and some additional insights that you're ready to rock and roll with that.
And this kind of takes us to the groundwork, the main pillars that we're going to bring into the conversation about communication. And as you look at this diagram, you kind of think of this as a cycle, or you can see it as almost at a similar level, but it has to kind of keep going around, right? You have to have a repeat in order to build and to rebuild for reflection. So today we're going to do a lot of reflecting, we're going to discuss, and we're going to also sketch out, and maybe even for some of you, find really specific tools or strategies that can underpin what you're already doing. Many of you already find this as a primary role as far as communicating with families, connecting families, bridging between the teacher and the families, bridging between your team and a family and a child. There's lots of different things that you may already do as far as communication is concerned. And we're just really trying to box it in today with what effective communication is. So again, these 4 repeatable, accessible, informative, and goal-oriented will be some of the key kind of thoughts or touchstones that we'll have during this workshop today. So what do we think of as repeatable? Repeatable is something that is identifiable. I think we all understand the frequency part of it, but when we're saying it's repeatable, it's a recognizable thing to a parent, either by the brand, like you think of if something is named in the same way, if something has a timing in the same way, like for example, if it's like weekly notes from the principal, or it's like notes from the social worker, or Monday moments, all of those things that create identifiable markers or also are connected to time points can help give this sense of it being repeatable information and repeatable communication. Accessibility and usability are going to be two big talking points for us today. And I know in your groups, we can already see from the chat that a lot of you have this as a point in a very good understanding of how to get information, how to consider whether or not that path is clear and open. And we're really going to emphasize this two-way piece, because we don't want parents to feel, or children even to feel, like they're drinking out of a fire hose. This has to be communication that is also aimed at the desired person, informative, in other words, with the time and the area of need, and also goal-oriented. As educators and support staff, we are, blending everything we do to the point of further engagement and greater learning. How are we going to enhance learning? So that's where that goal-oriented piece comes in. And oftentimes, in the classroom, we talk about the backward planning part. Like, what do we want to have happen? What do we want as the outcome? And sometimes you can have an outcome in mind for this communication and kind of work backwards. Well, how are we going to gather this? Who can we get involved on it? But sometimes this goal is one that you need to seek more information on. And we're going to talk a lot about making sure that you are involving the family as decision makers, advocates, and input change agents for their child and for the school, because it benefits everyone. So that's how we will sort of bring together some of the points over the course.
Yes, and thank you, Ms. Berry. So prior to us, really jumping in here, we really want to do a couple Zoom polls here. So our Zoom poll one, you want to go back a slide, Ms. Berry?
Oops, sorry about that.
It's all right. So in Zoom poll one, just get a quick little assessment on how we feel about us communicating with our families. And we actually have two polls. So we're going to go ahead and launch that poll.
And these are anonymous. This is just different sort of polls to help us get a picture of it and help guide some of our conversations. And we also have it posted in the slides as well, because we know this will be recorded for other people to use at another time. So we want to make sure that they may not get the Zoom poll, but they're seeing what the questions are that we're posing.
So are we waiting for the next poll to come up?
If you feel like we're ready to close this, move to the next one, then yes. So I'll give you another second. If you haven't had a chance here, as we discuss it, you can kind of listen for the identifying parts of how you feel for your own personal communication. So now we're moving to the second poll. And Greg, if you want to overview the questions in this poll here.
Sure. Poll 2. So first poll was how well we give information to our parents. This poll, we're focusing on, well, how well do we receive communication from our parents? As we remember, effective communication is two-way. So we can go ahead and start our second poll here.
And this one, Greg, I'm seeing that the poll is coming up a little bit differently. So for this one, what we'd like you to do is to kind of on a sheet of paper, something that you have beside you, go ahead and, or if you want to put it into the chat, either put not well, well, or very well.
Yeah, the chat might be better, Ms. Berry. I'm not viewing the poll right now.
Yeah, there's something, the questions just align differently. So we'll just move from that.
Okay.
Poll number 2.
So look, this is a great example of that technology and when we're reaching out to parents in a digital way. And when things don't go according to plan, that we continue to adjust to make sure we meet those needs.
Right. I think that we've all learned in the digital world that we have to kind of come up with a backup for a backup, because sometimes that's what happens. And we went as first question just really on the self-reflection, right? How well do I feel like I'm communicating? And then going to our one of our special topics of the day is two-way communication. How well is communication flowing backwards? How well do you receive it? How well does your school receive the information? How well does the district collect and bring information in?
And I see some great comments in the chat to the poll, and also just a great observation. And these are exactly some of the things that we want to try to unpack today, because as a school system, schools, we do a great job with giving communication to parents, but as far as putting protocols, processes, and procedures in place to receive information back from parents, not so much. And when we really think about this thing, how have we prepared parents to give us communication back? So, right. It's a great comment. The parents we need the information from are the ones who do not know how or don't want to communicate with us. And we're going to touch on that in a bit when we talk about that belief system. So, Ms. Berry, you want to go to the next slide? Absolutely.
I think what we see in the chat is this unevenness in how to get communication, how to build engagement, how to, now that we have such a digital piece, to continue to encourage and train parents on these different tools that teachers have had to use and incorporate with great fluidity. I mean, the educators' abilities over these last year and a half have been stellar. All school staff have had to quickly learn about the tools that they use for communication and for instruction during this time. So what we want to, again, piece out here are these communication levels. So when we think about teacher to student, right? Those of you who are in the classroom right now, we have a lot of ones from elementary and from middle school as well. Like, you think about the in-person child. So as a teacher, you're able to help with repetition. You're able to model things frequently. You can reinforce the information that you are wanting a child to manipulate or to even replicate. So the in-class relationship is a different type of communication really than the teacher-parent. First of all, we could talk about the frequency piece. Connection with parent can be very limited. Some of you already mentioned that not, being able to contact parents and understanding that different family and work situations are obstacles for parents to come to school at certain times, maybe because of their shift on certain days of the week, which are maybe irregularly scheduled or traveling. And also just plain old the time of the day, right? So when we look at communication levels, we have to start to kind of break these out a little bit to create more understanding as to what are our obstacles, general trends, and then the unique circumstances of your exact school and how you can adapt this to what your goals will be.
Thank you, Ms. Berry. And just to kind of add on to that, as we are trying to kind of piece this thing out here, generally when we think about school and family communication and district and family communication, oftentimes we have this general communication, school-wide to all parents. This is usually systematic, comes out same day, same time usually, and these are the calls that parents expect if it's those robocalls. And even, because I know in our district, I've heard parents kind of respond to this question as well. When I see that school number at that time, sometimes I don't answer it, as far as a telephone call. So we know that these things are happening. But we are also thankful that that's not the only way that we get communication out to our families. These, our general communication. Things are posted on school websites, teacher websites. Also, a lot of schools are incorporating text messaging. Sometimes, and as a parent myself, you talk about a voice message from a school that lasts 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, that can be, it may sound like just a short amount of time, but that can be a lot. Whereas if it is just a text, maybe a little easier to digest. Now, as far as school and district, sometimes we have that communication that's very specific. That is talking to a particular grade level. Maybe it's K2, maybe it's 3-5, maybe it is, graduating seniors in high school, or middle school, or something about a science fair. So we really need to kind of consider who is getting the messaging. As well, when we think about that personal communication. And Ms. Berry touched on this as well when we talk about that personal communication. Usually that is, teacher to family. It may be principal or assistant principal to family. It may be a guidance counselor. But these are very, very personal. So it is in those personal communications that those relationships can be established. And also what we really want is, again, establishing that two-way communication. Now, the two-way communication at the teacher and student and teacher and parent level is easy to establish. But the establishing two-way communication as far as the school to the family, kind of widespread, and also the district and the family, that is an area that that's certainly an area for growth here. And parents certainly want to be in the know. And we invest money as a district and as schools in tools that we can get information out to parents. I think it's also important that we express our need and concern about getting programs, getting resources to help us receive communication from parents as well.
Yes, and that's a great way to look at kind of what we are working with right now in the PowerPoint or the slides that you have. You should be able to access these links. I also made like another link in here, ability effective links NCBOLD, which will take you to every single link the of the day here with us, so that in case something happens with you clicking on the Google slide, you can just click right off of here. Okay. So looking at our communication box, we'd like you to take a moment, click on the Padlet link, or like I said, use the effective links NCBOLD to work from there. And a Padlet is a quick tool to build up information. I'll show you fast how to do it. You click on this plus, and then you can just add something in and hit enter. So we'd like to give you just a minute, like 3 minutes to kind of add some of the things that are in your toolbox. So again, clicking on the Padlet link or effective links, the bit.ly effective links NCBOLD will take you to all of these links here for the whole meeting, and then you can click from there directly if you don't want to click, if you're not following along that way. So you have different choices there. And I will also, just to get us started, drop this in here so that we can get to the Padlet. And so as you look at the Padlets are one of those many different tools where you can create kind of like a sticky note board. I remember like when you first did your sticky note boards in a faculty meeting, and everybody walked up there with their little piece of paper and added things together. We kind of took that idea from a lot of the business world that had been using many collaborative team building techniques already in advance of education. And I think we need to continue to embrace these collaborative team building tools. And this is one of those tools. I already see some things popping up there. Someone posted the school website, right? Social media pages. All you need to do is click on that little plus underneath one of those categories and just add something in there. You could say it's in the student section. Maybe some things you do overlap, right? One tool is used like in Canvas. Canvas can communicate with students about work and deadlines, but it can also communicate with families and open up that path between the two of them. So we see more things popping on here as well in that toolbox. So again, we'll give you a couple more minutes. You may recognize some of these tools already that are coming up here, like Class Dojo, right? Maybe you use a Seesaw or something like that as well for tracking student work and family communication. Padlet's kind of fun because it's very easy. You see here that you just follow the link and you can add a prompt at the top. You can even add different backgrounds. So this is one of the tools we'll kind of build into our interactive piece, but you might find it useful as you think ahead. And if you're having trouble getting to that bit.ly effective links NCBOLD or anything else, just drop in the chat and let me know. We don't want to miss you or any of the comments, and we'll certainly build those into our conversation. So give it a couple more minutes. If at some point, excuse me, seconds, if at some point you think of something else, this is open. It'll be open throughout the whole NCBOLD time, and then we will archive it, but share it back to you as well.
All right. So as I still see some things kind of popping up in our digital toolbox. So we do want to begin some conversation right now, and we have we don't have a load of participants on. So Ms. Baird, you think we might be able to just have some general conversation via text and people getting off mute and just kind of speaking out?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, for this one, since we're not in a break, we'd love to hear anything else you want to say. So I'll watch the text as you're talking, Mr. Jones, and I will, anybody can hop in on and off.
Thank you. So as we look at these tools and we look at what's in the toolbox, I see Remind, Class Dojo, and then just a list of things that have happened at schools: email, text, dojo, seesaw, Google Classroom, Remind, social media, virtual parent nights, and what have you. Students, email, Classroom Dojo. I see Classroom Dojo again. And then for families, school website, social media pages, all calls, the Remind app, again, Class Dojo, newsletters. So when we look at these types of communications, oftentimes, what I see here, most of these things are really geared at the school. When we talk about Class Dojo, when we talk about Seesaw, these are many times some district tools that have gone out to schools that we use, or as an extension on the Google Suite or what have you. And we also have some things as far as websites and it may, to a lesser degree, social media pages where it can be seen as a method that's used at the school or the district level. So when we think about these levels of two-way engagement, and I would love to hear some responses. Again, we do a great job on getting information out to parents in this digital world. How well does this work in getting information from parents? Does anyone have a story or an example in how they are using their tool, in their digital toolbox, on a way of getting information back from parents?
Is there something about one of these tools maybe that you think adds more ease to parent responses? Anybody?
And I do see a comment here, had an issue getting accurate contact information from our parents to communicate. It was like you were in one of our meetings. It sounds it's something that is kind of widespread, and what I have, what I've realized is, number one, a lot of times communication is not correct information, not transferred from school to school, especially during the transition years. That is huge. I'm so thankful for the personal relationships that teachers have, because there were times, as a building administrator, I go into power schools, I look for a number, it's the wrong number. I go down the list and I've called the first, second, third contact, but I go to that teacher, oh yeah, their number was changed. This is their number now. And the teachers have those personal relationships with the parents, which is really the backbone and, foundation of those relationships and building that two-way communication. So, and I hate to kind of
the communication in our staff, between our staff, because if they have it and we don't, there's another breakdown. I mean, it's wonderful they have it, but I mean, we need it as well.
Absolutely. And
making sure, yeah.
That just goes to that systematic approach and kind of jumping ahead, but the conversation's kind of here, that everybody needs to be on the same page when it comes to the communication with our families. And we have to have those expectations, school-wide. If I'm a classroom teacher, And, you know, I communicate with the parent some type of really personal special issue that a counselor needs to speak with them about, or a social worker. And then, you know, I make that connection, and they're supposed to be a very quick turnaround, but it takes weeks for good communication to be established between the parent and the counselor. Then I've lost a parent, I've lost a family because of a breakdown in our communication. And I know I jumped ahead, but that was a good point of conversation and teachable moment there. And thank you for sharing that, Tammy. So
also, like, that process of getting the correct information spread within the team, and like you're saying, all the way to the data manager and to the different support staff, like the social worker and guidance, often in some of our hard to reach families have ongoing relationships and may have other pieces that are need to also be updated to make sure everybody gets all the different services and wraparound supports that our kids may need and the families may need. Also see that
we had this year was, you know, we normally, when the kids are in house, you get the contact information's updated. Well, this year we had, I think, at least 3 first days of school. And so we never got that information back from the parents. Then when we did get it, our data managers a lot of times didn't get it in the system. So it's like, then they get upset that they provided it and we're not putting it in our system to, you know, and they're sending me out to their house as a social worker. It's like Mr. Jones said, you've lost a parent at that point because they think we're incompetent because they did what they were supposed to do. And then it's kind of like we didn't do what we needed to on our side.
This next thing that we're going to move into is going to really give you a chance in a small group. Thank you so much for speaking up there to talk about these barriers. So Greg, while I set up our breakout rooms, you can give a quick overview about the breakout room. You're gonna join this room a couple different times. So we'll pop in and out.
Right. So what we're doing here in our breakout room is we're going to use the Jamboard. And in your group, we want you to add 2 or 3 examples of barriers to communication. And we've already kind of started this conversation already. And we can see it already being very rich. So we know about the issues that we have going on in our field, in the field that we love. You know, we know that the struggle is real, but still we still have this task of reaching our families, this task of building our kids, educating them, preparing them both academically and socially. So we want to try to mitigate these barriers as much as we possibly can. But in order to mitigate them, we got to know them. We got to recognize them. We got to see them in how it manifests themselves in so many different ways. So if you, as we get into our groups and we go to the Jamboard, we can begin kind of listing those barriers.
Everyone should have an invite at the top to join. When you see that, go ahead and join in either room 1, 2, or 3. Mr. Jones and I will be popping in and out of rooms. I see a couple people that are still looking for that invite. Wendy, I see you in room 3, and Suzanne looks like she's getting into room 3 as well. All right. I think, Suzanne, you're stuck in cyberspace. Look at the top and see if you see an invite for room 3. And if you don't, just drop in the chat. So, Greg, I'm going to go ahead and send you into room 1. All right.
All righty. How long are we staying in? 5 minutes?
5 minutes. Yep. I'll do the warnings as well. Hey, Suzanne. I'm seeing you. You got stuck here. It looks like, let me know if there's something I can help you with. I'll send you a message. We are in our first breakout room.
Samples.
Hey there, everyone. Are we in the Jamboard?
Oh, where is
Yes.
the Jamboard?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. If you go to the effective links NCBOLD, do you have that link? Let me just grab it for you, and
You
I'll
put the link in the chat box.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat, and you can open it up again. Let me just copy it one more time. No problem. And this will give you all the links for the whole day. So from this link, we are looking at the first one, breakout room number 1, and we're looking at the Jamboard, identifying barriers.
Okay.
Oh, you got it? Awesome.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, and with the Jamboard on the left-hand side, you see a couple different options of things you can add. You can write, draw. Underneath the arrow, which is in the circle, there's a little kind of mini sticky note, and there you can click on that and just drop it on there. And then we can move it around like sticky notes, which is really fun because it's all digital.
Mhm.
So I'm going to pop back out of here. Does anybody have any questions about the Jamboard?
No, thank you.
All right. I'll also send like a 2-minute reminder when we're almost out, but just add anything. It can be a word, it can be a picture, it can be an example, whatever works for you.
Okay.
See you later. Hey there. Hello, hello. Did we lose you in the breakout room? Oh no, did I lose you in the breakout room? So Karen, I think you were in room 1. And Monique, you were in room 2. Do you want me to send you back into that room now? I know sometimes that happens with these. I put an invite back at the top for you to go back into that breakout room. If you want to drop something in the chat to let me know that there's an issue, please do that so I can make sure I find you. Did I find you, Karen? Monique, do you see an invite at the top there? Hey, Karen. Hey everybody, how are we doing here in the breakout room? I see a lot of stuff popping up on the Jamboard. Are we, I know Greg had been in here a minute ago. What kind of things are you listing as barriers? What things are you finding as problems?
For a lot of parents, it's just willingness to come to the school. Maybe they had bad experience at school, or maybe they can't get to the school last year, transportation with being remote and that kind of thing. Transportation was an issue for some parents because their students had to ride the bus.
Yeah, sometimes the distance, especially when you're outside of a dense or more an urban setting, are quite large, and the parents might not have regular transportation for school hours. Excellent. Did you put that on the Jamboard? I saw something about transportation, but definitely make sure you put that there.
I just put it on there.
Thank you. And again, this will build something that we can look back at and can really be something else that you share with people at your school to affirm the things that you are saying. Sometimes we need to spend a little more time magnifying it for everybody else to get on board so the school considers those problems. Excellent. Well, I'm about to close this breakout rooms. See you in a second. I'm going to pop out of here. See you in a We are coming back in. Welcome. The breakout rooms are closed for right now. Let's get right back into where we were. We are almost closed. Karen, I know you're calling in. Thanks so much for letting me know. I tell you, there are so many digital issues that have come up with connectivity for staff, for families. Welcome back, everybody. The breakout rooms are closing up, where you had a chance to talk with other educators around the state about what some of those barriers were. We've created a really good looking Jamboard here that is going to give us some other points of conversation. And it's also a way for us to talk about this issue with other people at our schools, because it helps to affirm the things that you are saying, to, like somebody said with professional development, to acknowledge that this is an issue that's not just a my school issue. This is something which there are some strategies and approaches that we can work on and lean into to support our families better. So moving along here for engaging our families. Mr. Jones, you want to go ahead and take that away?
Sure. And I know we were in some great conversation the last breakout room that we were in. I guess and Wendy and I were kind of, just talking about just the vastness of this communication piece, and how there's so many different places that parents are getting information from, and just kind of streamlining that process. And, as we look at in the breakout room, the stickies, a lot of, misinformation, lack of professional development, parents, not understanding the use and correct numbers, things of that nature. And I guess we could go on this for hours, but I do want to kind of continue on with the presentation here. So when we talk about engaging our families and these, responses to communication. So we have, again, missing and incorrect communication, lack of professional development, parents' willingness to come to school, teacher reluctant to stay late for working parents. So incorrect numbers again, lack of parent knowledge. I see again, teacher staff unwillingness to go beyond the classroom. I see here we're talking about the language barrier as well. So when we think about communication and we think about parents turning off to some communication or not even interested in updating information, and in all honesty, for some of them, their reason might be, I don't want you calling. I don't want you to be able to contact me. If I need to contact you, then I'll just come up to the school. And I know, that's happened a lot. But this past year, during the pandemic, when many of us were in remote learning for, the better part of the year, if not the whole year, that became an obstacle. So we missed out on some kids and some numbers in place. So when we think about these barriers, one of the overarching themes is, has a safe space been established? So if a parent happens to contact a school staff person kind of at the end of the day, teachers tired, ready to go home, and rightfully so, because human just like everyone else. And in that conversation, that staff member is short with a family member or a parent. And there's a hint of, I don't really feel like talking to you right now because I'm ready to go home because I have a life too, right? So while that's totally understandable, in a sense from a human standpoint, as professionals in the building, again, we've just turned off a parent. We've just turned out a family. So now that a parent calling the school, that safe place has not been established. So now, when communication, when other teachers or school staff members try to reach out, that might not be the best option, or parents may be standoffish. So these safe places, they have to be established. And a lot of times those safe places are established with the personal communication. Have we nurtured the relationship in such a way that our parents feel comfortable? And we could do, 99 things absolutely right and hit the mark. And then that one time could help to break in several relationships with our families. So, and we are far from perfect, and we all understand that, but just, really understanding, have we established safe spaces for communication with our families? It is
in the structure, which we've talked about already. Is there enough of a check, to make sure that when the parent did alert a member, that there's been a follow through and a conclusion which suits the family and the educator or the person in the building communicate with the family? Because we have to make sure that the last person that hangs up on the call is the educator, right? Because we are in the role of service, in that the parent wants to feel like the questions have been asked, or like the follow-up has been to the best ability of that person. And if it does get passed off, that, it's actually been completed. Right.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of, our focus when we talk about our hard to reach families, oftentimes when we have school events, when we're reaching out for communication, I have good relationships and I can talk with, a particular group of parents, but the parents that I need to talk to, I can't get them. And part of that is that safe space been established. And sometimes we are not the people who have broken the safe space. Our parents, they come to schools with experience themselves when they were in school. They come with experience with their child that has kind of turned them off. So realizing that they're dealing with they're dealing with a lot. They are dealing with a lot. So really kind of understanding that, and listen, take it off of yourself. When we talk about reaching our families, our hard to reach families, there's no magic pill or bullet. It is one family at a time.
And this for the closer look, because we're still moving through our communication here. Can you believe we've almost been talking already for an hour, because this is such an engaging topic, and we need to continue to improve here. When we look at these relationships and this rapport, like Mr. Jones was talking about, it's honoring what everybody is bringing to the table and finding those shared partnerships, moving the partnership away from being just a monitor. I think sometimes as teachers, we communicate about needs that we have in monitoring a child instead of raising the parent up to be more of a advocate and a co-support system in the home. Like, instead of saying, I really need to make sure that this student does this work, maybe giving the parent some other roles to fill as an educational ally to their child. What do you have for homework? Well, show me where your teacher organized these things, giving them the practice and the invitation to continue to speak with their child about their learning and about different processes to kind of troubleshoot problems that maybe they might encounter. We might not know all the new math or the content area of a certain grade level, but as adults, we can support our children, or we can encourage parents, give them methods how to support their child at home when they are learning or when they are engaging with difficulty academically or socially. So making sure that we honor that parent's role in the success of their child in that partnership. So we're moving again from looking at the teacher part to the bigger picture and how you can consider this and advocate for this on a larger level than just at your school.
Thank you, Ms. Berry. So, and I won't spend a lot of time on this. I know our time is getting short, but based on conversations that we've had and conversations in the break room, the breakout rooms, we're talking about this alignment, communication alignment. You know, I think it was maybe Wendy in that group that was talking about different information on different social media posts and where parents are getting information from. So we want to make sure that we are aligned, not just as a school, but even to make sure that we are aligned, you know, as a district. For example, when district communication goes out and that parent is looking for specific information, they're going to go to the school. They're going to go to the school website. They're going to be looking for school communication to get more specifics about what's going on for them and their child, you know, as a sixth grader at, you know, Bold Elementary, so, or Bold Middle. So really just making sure that there is some type of alignment, and when things go out from the district, that the school is able to communicate some specifics for that school level. We also want to reach out to our district personnel, communication experts, maybe the Office of Public Affairs, or however the structure in your district is, to get information, to get pointers, and even to help streamline some of those things that you have going on, you know, at the school as far as different sites and where information might be. Because we do want our parents to be able to receive information from a variety of sources. You know, so they may not check their email, but they check their Facebook or their Twitter. They may not answer that call Sunday night at 7 o'clock, you know, because they're eating dinner. So really just kind of paying attention to that. And also just those networks. So people are talking and communicating so everybody kind of knows what's going on. And, professional learning is important at the school and at the district level because we want things to kind of be uniformed in a bit. So parents have this kind of expectation about how, communication will look, how it will sound, the information that is in it as well. And then just think about the communication overload because that's a issue too. And that's why many of our parents, when they see the number, they hang up. It's too much coming in at one time.
And we're trying to help everyone and ourselves think about all of these broad issues that come together and influence how effective and how sustainable communication is. How often can we keep doing it? How, what's the commitment level at the teacher level and at the district level to ensure that all families get effective and targeted communications for their needs? So you're going to see the rooms. Get ready to see your friends again in room 1, 2, and 3. This time we are going to use the breakout group Jamboard number 2 for usability and visibility. See you in a second. You should see invites right in the middle, and you'll be in there about 4 minutes or so, and then we'll come back out because we're at this part in the presentation. So look at the invite. You should see it there for room 1, 2, or 3. We're looking at usability and visibility. If for some reason you don't see an invitation at the top of your page, go ahead and just put something in the chat or unmute yourself and say, hey, I know one of our participants was using a phone to call in. I'll see if there's a way I can move you over if that doesn't work.
All right.
Greg, do you see yours in there to go to the room 3?
Yes.
Okay. Suzanne, do you see yours as well? I think, there we go. Suzanne, you've almost got, Wendy's just moved. Oh, Greg's moved. Right. Hello, Wendy and Suzanne. If you're having trouble entering the rooms, you can just type in the chat, or if you'd like to unmute yourself. Also, the link for the breakout group usability and visibility, you can just add right in there a sticky note on those color codings. Hey there, how's everybody doing?
Good.
Awesome. So in this Jamboard, we wanted to use the color coding for us to kind of get some of the things together. Which one of these large topics do you think relates to you the most? What do you think?
Right. Do you guys know that ducks, not some ducks,
Probably
some
the Google
birds
Forms
fly
or the
south in
pink
the
ones,
winter?
maybe.
Yeah. So like it gets cold here, and in the winter, birds like to be
Yeah,
warm.
Google
They'll fly
Forms are
south
really great.
to like Florida or like farther down to be warm. Right. So this bird, because it is probably
Herbert, you might want to mute
Herbert,
yourself.
I think I heard about ducks in Google Forms.
Because it's a duck like somebody's pet. It probably doesn't know it is fly south.
Okay, there we go. So, Miss Rogers, could you go ahead and share again what you were saying about using Google Forms?
Oh yeah, of the ones up there, I think that like using Google Forms was probably something I did the most of here.
Yeah, and I know that Google Forms are really helpful for a lot of different sign up things we did, as well as contact information. What are some ways that you use Google Forms?
Not only to communicate with parents, but also I used them in class for like quick assessments, just things like that.
Yeah, that's a great thing to do. And then you have the data, or like if it's your
Right.
parent, you can say, hey, I didn't see this from you. You can go back and do it at your own time, or it's great for deciding what you might need to review or what you could move on from.
Right. Well, and using them with parents, I like last year I was remote teaching all year, but then after March I started getting students come back in face to face, and things that were sent home with students face to face, I would put them in Google Forms, and then it made it easier to share with the principal or the Title I teacher or whatever
Yes.
activity it was for.
That's awesome. We need to approach contacting families with the same attitude we had for kids in teaching. All of the asynchronous work was really helpful for families that had different circumstances with, remote learning. Well, in regular life, families can definitely benefit from that flexibility you're already using. So I hope you're sharing that widely where you are, because it sounds you have a good
I
way
try.
of bringing it. Awesome. I got to close this room. I'll see you in a second.
Okay. Barbara, you're muted.
Thank you. Thanks. I would say welcome back, everybody. I know it takes a minute sometimes to come out of rooms, but we can already see on the Jamboard too that we can, with the color coding, we can see a lot of trends in some of the areas. I noticed also that the bilingual resources isn't tagged there yet, and I think it's real important to make sure that we also include the ESL or the other support services that are available in your county or district to bring things into another language if the family needs that or prefers that. Someone had mentioned Remind 101, and there's also a tool called Talking Points, which will translate as well to many different languages, including Spanish. So that's another tool to look at for your school if you find you have a variety of families that need different languages in support and you already are using a texting app. That's another one to mention. So let's talk here about the harmony of communication. We only have about a little under 10 minutes left, so we're going to move through some things kind of quickly, but we are still here for you. As we look at the harmony of communications, it's really about identifying how all these things come into play, right? Connecting the points, just making sure that any community partnerships or school partnerships and personnel are strong. Another thing about effective communication, just like in the classroom, is if we're going to collect information, how are we collecting it? What kind of questions do we pose? How frequent are they? Do we only look for forms, or are we also doing these one-on-one personal communications where we are having a conversation, the ones that Mr. Jones has emphasized several times and that to be true is finding out information through targeted questions and listening closely, right? Active listening is going to take you very far with a family in serving them and serving their child. What we want to do now in these last few minutes is just give you a chance to develop goals. And from there, you'll have a stepping stone to get started. You can do this on a piece of paper. You can do this in your mind. But notching those goals in a way, is it a short-term goal? Is that something I want to do for myself before December or before I walk into the building next month? Or is it a long-term goal? In June, I would like to feel I have this, or by June, I want to find out who the communications people are in my district that could help support our families more. As you think about it, just kind of tag those ST or LT. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You're not going to share this piece with us, but having a chart or a path, just like in learning for students and adults as well, having kind of a flow chart for what you want to have happen is extremely helpful. And I know we're going quickly, and Greg's going to take this one away right here. We will share you, the video is embedded, so you can watch that at your own time after. Right.
So, and we thought this video was timely because, at this time, many districts operating under traditional calendar that we're getting ready to go back to school in just a bit. And we have those back to school nights. And, back to school nights are a great opportunity to really connect with our families. Most times, and I don't know how different, districts are doing it now with still in this COVID pandemic and the variant, Delta variant, just kind of taking wings in a sense. But yet, typically we have this opportunity to really connect with our parents. If parents do not come to anything, they're going to come to that first back to school kickoff night, kind of see the teacher, get that pack of the stuff. And during this time, are we missing an opportunity to really connect with our families, really to talk about communication and the best way to communicate with the school, and also provide an opportunity for parents to practice the communication. We give them the information, we give them a site, but we really need for them to have the opportunity to actually practice what we're talking about. And that's the same thing with us when we go to professional development or professional learning. We present a skill, but do we give them an opportunity to actually practice the skill? And is this you, Ms. Berry?
I think that when you think of those bubbles of short-term and long-term goals, some of those goals can also be extending this sort of training into the families or preparing the staff to be more available for those kind of questions. And sometimes people will say, well, I can't be here at this time. So create asynchronous things like a video or like a picture sheet, or somebody mentioned like different Zoom times where people can meet and get some support. Like, be as flexible with the parents in learning a new digital tool as you are with your classroom students. As you think of your plan and your plan of action, ask yourself these questions again about how do you make it sustainable? Where's the energy draw, right? You're going to have the people, the personnel. What makes it something that you know that you can plan to do? Because having a team that is with you in this two-way communication with families is going to just keep this cycle going. It's going to continue to get more accessible. The information will be timely. It'll hit a goal. All of these things need to become more embedded into your philosophy of parent communication as well as the schools. So as we look at this last moment, I'd like you to think about, what are some things you might just, and I will put up the Zoom poll as well. But what are some action steps you might have? Let me put that poll up there as well. And as you answer this question for the action steps, I think you'll see, what areas of communications do you plan to engage the family with as well? Are you thinking about social emotional issues? Is it academic? Is it about extracurricular things? What about support services? Is that where you think the families need some more effective communication? What are some of the goals that you see there that you might adapt and adopt for your school? So we'll give that another 10 seconds or so to add in, and then Greg will take us to our final thoughts, and then we'll be right at the end of our time. Y'all are amazing. I wish we had longer together, but I know there's so much on everybody's schedule. So we'll go ahead and you can continue to fill out that poll if you haven't. Greg, would you like to wrap it up here for our final thoughts?
Sure. So with the final thoughts, really, and I do want to just start out by saying, what is our belief system in communicating with our family? And just a shift from they did not get it from the website, or I sent it home to them, or I emailed it to them and they still didn't respond. And instead of taking that approach, to take an approach of, okay, the communication went out in this way, did not get the response that we wanted. How can we improve more response and two-way communication established? And to do that, it must be embedded in a school-wide approach. Everybody has to be saying the same thing and operating with the same in the same method. And if something doesn't work, adjust and change. Get feedback from your families, feedback from your stakeholders, and then anticipate and expect change. Who knows how things are going to look when we go back to school post-pandemic year, where many of us were out. And also building it one step at a time, having that growth mindset, and really being okay with new ideas, new approaches, utilizing community partners is a huge thing. Some of our community organizations, and then some of our school in-house organizations as well, could have some more of a following for relationships that we can tap into. So really taking advantage of that, and again, develop those short and long-term goals for communication.
And we're sharing back what some of the action steps were that were responses in the poll, as well as some of the areas of communication. So you get an idea from other participants what's on their minds as well. We thank you so much for the generosity of your time to come and talk with us today. We had a lot to cover, and we hope that this was something that stimulated more conversations in the groups, as well as for us in thinking about this topic. We'd love to follow up with you on the bit.ly links. You'll see at the bottom our follow-up form if you want to fill that out. We'll mail you some other materials as well.
Thank you all so much. Really enjoyed the richness of our conversations. And, we could have just been in a room and just kind of talked. It was so wonderful to be able to share just our stories in this field with our parents and children. So thank you all so much.
Yes, thank you very much. We appreciate your time. To see the code here. It, like Mr. Jones said, we took this online, and it was awesome with you guys to have these rooms, have all this jam board and materials you can take back to keep the conversation going in your school and teams. Thank you again.
Bye-bye, you all.